And I'm not even blaming the other countries that did this. I blame our leadership for allowing it to happen. We've been mistreated very badly by many countries, not just Canada and Mexico. We've been taken advantage of. We were led by, in some cases, fools, because anybody that would sign documents like they signed, where they were able to take advantage of the American people, like has happened over the last long period of time, except for a little 4-year period that took place 4 years ago. But anybody that would agree to allow this to happen to our country should be ashamed of themselves. No, the tariffs are going forward on time, on schedule. This is an abuse that took place for many, many years. And I'm not even blaming the other countries that did this. I blame our leadership for allowing it to happen. I mean, you know, who can blame them if they made these great deals with the United States, took advantage of the United States on manufacturing, on just about everything, every aspect that you could imagine they took advantage of. I look at some of these agreements, I'd read them at night, and I'd say, who would ever sign a thing like this? So the tariffs will go forward, yes, and we're going to make up a lot of territory. All we want is reciprocal. We want reciprocity. We want to have the same. So if somebody charges us, we charge them. It's very simple, but it'll be very good for our country. Our country will be extremely liquid and rich again. Plus, we're doing other things, as you know. We're finding tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse at levels that nobody thought possible. You're seeing what's going on. And that was also part of the Harvard poll. Do you agree with what President Trump is doing with Elon and others that are looking for the waste, fraud, and abuse? And the numbers were staggering. It was like 70% to 2%. Everybody wants to find out. They don't like it. And, you know, the radical left or whoever it may be starts screaming about the Constitution. But it has nothing to do with the Constitution. It has to do with fairness to this country. It has to do with being ripped off. And when you read the things that all of these billions, and I mean many billions, hundreds of billions of dollars have been spent on, that's all you have to do is stand up here and read them. I could stand up all day and read the kind of things where we're spending all of this money. The good news is that when you think of how rich a nation we can be when we get rid of this, you know, sometimes you'll buy a company and you'll see it was really well run. They accounted for every penny. Well, not much you can do there. You got yourself a bad deal. This one is the exact opposite. Tremendous fraud, tremendous waste. And when you think of what it is, you know, Elon uses an expression, caring. If we had people that cared, just cared a little bit when they did contracts, when they negotiated with outside vendors on behalf of the United States. That's what I'm doing now. I'm negotiating for the people of the United States. So we're doing a great job of it. I will say we found it'll be hundreds of billions of dollars of waste and fraud and abuse. Thank you. Please.
Look, I think this discussion is a very important one.
Okay, that's President Trump there and the French president, as you see, at the White House discussing their bilateral today. Most of it centered, as you heard there, on the war in Ukraine and the president's desire, as he said, to end that, saying we've had great discussions on ending that war. Our focus is on achieving a ceasefire, he said, as soon as possible. Ultimately, he hopes a permanent peace. Described the meeting with Mr. Macron another step towards ending that war, and that Macron agrees that this is the right time and may be the only time, in fact, to end that war. I want to bring in Eamon Javers, who's been listening to this as well. And Eamon, you did hear at the end as well a comment on tariffs, which the president said, quote, relating to Mexico and Canada, of course, the tariffs are going forward on time and on schedule.
Yeah, so it appears that the president didn't get a deal that he likes with Mexico and Canada in order to further delay those tariffs. So he says we're still on track there. And just an extraordinarily dynamic and delicate moment here in this negotiation over the future of Ukraine, as the United States has sort of thrust itself in as the deal maker here. As you heard the president there say, I'm a deal maker, that's what I do. And yet the terms of this potential negotiation are so wide open as we sit here right now, whether or not the Russians will pay for any damages done, whether the Russians will give up territory, whether the Ukrainians will have to reimburse the United States in some way, as President Trump wants, for the investment the United States has made in Ukraine, whether that's through minerals or in some other way, what the role of the Europeans will be in this ultimate deal. All of that sort of wide open in a free-for-all negotiation at the moment. And you can see Macron and Trump here both very much at pains to emphasize their common ground, even as there are just enormous gulfs in difference in their approach to this war. Macron saying several times during this event and a previous event in the Oval Office that Russia was the aggressor in the war in Ukraine. That's something that Donald Trump does not like to acknowledge. But Macron making at pains to say that in front of Donald Trump here. And Trump, for his part, insisting that Ukraine has to pay the United States back for some of the investment that the United States has made, and saying that the Biden administration made a terrible deal by giving open-ended defense aid to the Ukrainians without guarantees of any kind of payment or loans or resources in exchange for that. So a fascinating, wide-open, multi-dimensional negotiation rolling out right in front of us here, Scott.